What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Daddy Jeep Garage. I know it's been a really long time. I haven't really been slacking. I just haven't made any videos. I have a ton of content. I've been working on so many different vehicles. I currently have 11 Jeeps at my shop. Working on a couple Nissans, a Volkswagen, I got a couple Chevys I'm working on. It's been crazy here in the shop. With the holidays, with hunting season, I just haven't had time to edit any videos. So I apologize for that. But I'm back, and I have some big news. So what is all this big news I speak of? Well, the biggest thing, other than I actually made a video, is that I'm going to be participating in the 24-hour Appalachian Adventure Run for the Hills. I'll put a link down below to the Facebook group for it. So what this is a 24-hour event that's going to cover 600 miles through the hills of West Virginia, first weekend in February. So I'm really excited about that. The Jeep Doc is actually going to ride with me. I don't know if you know the Jeep Doc or not, but you should. Again, there's a link down below for his YouTube channel. But the Jeep Doc's riding with me, as well as my oldest son, Alec. And now, that's forcing me to get some stuff done on the old WJ here. So first and foremost, I'm going to put a whole bunch of footage in here of what I've been building for the WJ that I haven't shown you yet. So what I've done is I've created a winch mount, and I've actually mounted the winch that I picked up. I've integrated it way into the grill, so it's nice and tight. If you can't tell, this is a WJ right here. I got the front end all torn apart. We pulled the bumper cover off. We pulled the outer grill section off. We pulled that inside grill piece that holds the headlights off, down to this somewhat bent up sheet metal. So you can see there's still some collision damage from before I bought this thing, but we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna cut this whole mangled center section out. We're gonna build ourselves a winch mount. These two support bars here that support the upper radiator shroud and the latch assembly. I'm going to pull these out and just see how loose this gets. So if you can see, those bars are pretty important. This thing is super flimsy. So again, we're going to have to build off of here and then go over, maybe weld a stud or something over onto the side of the frame we're keeping. So now the fun part, we get to cut up some twisted, mangled metal. Yahtzee. All right, now there's just so much room for activities. There's a giant space here. The winch is going to fit in there real easy now. I just got to deal with some more mangled metal over here. And over here. All right, so we've got everything cut off I need to cut off, and I started mocking up this winch plate. I have no idea where this winch plate came from. It came with my winch. I bought it off Marketplace, of course. So I don't know what it is, but I don't like the design of it. It's not centered. So I'm going to cut a little bit of material off this side. I'm going to glue it back onto that side. That's going to get me perfectly centered between my uniframe rails. And then I'm going to build from there. And the other thing I found was that this has a long side and a short side, and they're opposite of the long side and short side of the winch. So I think they bent this the wrong way. They should have bent it up instead of down. So all kinds of things wrong. We're just going to cut it up and make it work. TJ is over here working away on the Liberty. Would you believe that? He cut a giant hole in his uniframe where the shock tower is going to go up through. All right, guys, that's all the welding we need to do. We've got the plate welded to some 1/4 inch by 3 inch angle iron to build out the sides to take up that difference in width. I went ahead and I built some plates to seal up the front corners as well as the back corners, tie it in even more to the existing part of the Jeep. I left some drain holes here in the corners. This plate has a whole bunch of holes in it, so it should drain pretty good. But this should be super strong. I have a ton of weld on here now. It's definitely a good base to build the rest of the bumper from. Okay, so we're kind of working on the key feature of my design of this bumper, and that is these massive recovery points. Of course, I'm starting with some CAD, some cardboard aided design, but this is going to mount in here, weld as far up inside this uniframe as I can. I might do some clearance holes. I'm also going to weld it to this 1/4-inch plate that I've already mounted here. And it's going to be 2 layers of 3/8 thick steel to give me a 3/4-inch recovery point. So on the top is going to be a big hook to just drop the strap over, but there's also going to be a D-ring mount in the bottom. We put these similar mounts on Keith's Jeep, but I really like the functionality of this type of recovery point. So that's what we're going to build, one for each side, and then this is going to be the basis for our modular bumper system. All right, so this is the basic shape. Again, you can see I have the big hook on top, so you can just drop a recovery strap right over that, or if you need to use the D-ring, there will be a mount drilled in there. And that's just going to mount right up in here. And also this ridge up top is, again, just to increase my weld surface to the original uniframe. I can weld top, bottom on both sides. I know it's just thin metal up there, but every bit of strength I can get, I'm going to take. So I've transferred my design from my cardboard over to some 3/8 plate. And there's really no straight edges on this thing, so it's all going to be cut freehand. I'm going to do my best to make 4 identical pieces. They're going to take some grinding, but we're going to do what we can to make them as close as we absolutely can. Alright, first chunk. Whole bunch of grinding to go, but so far so good. Alright, plasma cutting is all done. Now it's time to grind, get these things somewhat cleaned up and smooth. I still have some paint to grind off on the back sides. I hammered off all the burrs, so let's just start grinding. So now I've ground a massive bevel into both of these pieces. You can see there I've gone more than halfway through this material, made a nice big deep trough that I'm going to go ahead and burn these 2 pieces together, turn them into one 3/4-inch chunk. Alright, that took a minute, but we've got a hole for a shackle. What I'm working on now is I'm finally getting to closing this thing in with some like bumper type stuff. But what's important about that and why I'm doing that now is because I built in light mounts into that. Because again, we're going to be doing a 24-hour event, driving all night. There's no stopping, there's no sleeping. So I'm adding some lights. These Nylite lights, little 7-inch LED light bars I picked up. Again, I'll put a link down below. I like these ones because they don't take up a lot of space. And I went with ambers for the front, and I actually have a pair of these on the back in clear. So these are going to mount nice and tight right in there beside the winch. Very excited about those. And I have an old light bar, a 42-inch light bar. I might mount underneath the grill. You know, I'm not a light bar guy. You know what they say, lockers before light bars. That's coming soon as well. But we're doing an overnight 24-hour event in February, meaning 14 of those hours are going to be in the dark. So the more lighting we have, I think the better. So onto that locker, I actually got a Aussie locker for the front axle of this from a buddy of mine. So we're going to be installing that real soon, as well as rebuilding the front axle because my pinion bearing is shot. So like I needed more projects to do. So with all this new lighting, again, front lights, rear lights, possibly a light bar. I'm also going to be adding a whole bunch of power outlets inside because you know, I'm going to be running I have a tablet I picked up. I'm going to run my navigation on. I'm going to be charging at least 3 phones in there, and might borrow a 12-volt fridge for in there. I want to make sure we're all set up inside with lots of power, so I have some stuff ordered for that. And then, to control all of this, Jeep Doc actually picked up this aux beam controller for me. Inside of this box, of course, there's a big sticker to put somewhere. Actually, that's a reflective sticker. That's kind of cool. And then all of these little stickers that you can use to label your switch panel. So this little switch panel, 6-gang. It's not a touchscreen. It actually has physical buttons, which is just fine. So we got a 6-gang light panel. Got some mounts for it. What's really cool about this is the switch panel lives inside the vehicle. It's got a nice wiring harness. It's all self-contained. It's like a serial cable type thing. And then the control box actually lives under the hood, and it's its own fuse box. It has relays for all 6 circuits, fuses for all 6 circuits, easy, quick connect wiring. And this is a super well put together set. And it comes with everything you need. So part of that is a switched ignition wire. It actually comes with a couple of jumpers that you can put into your fuse box to tie into that. So the switched ignition, it turns this whole thing on. It even comes with a screwdriver. It has this little waterproof cover for the controller if it's going to be in like a Wrangler or something where it'll get wet. I'm not going to need that. It even comes with all these zip ties. Bunch of different fuses so you can set up your circuits with the proper amp draw. So yeah, that's pretty sweet setup. Now we need to figure out where we're going to mount this control box, and we'll go from there. So before we get into all of this electrical stuff and wiring and the controller, I want to go ahead and get these small bumper pieces installed and go ahead and get these front light bars installed. So to mount these 2 inner bumper pieces, I went ahead and drilled and tapped my winch plate so I can just screw right to that. It's going to be very simple, easy to pull off if I ever need to access the winch. So here's everything finally installed. The bumper pieces, the lights are installed, of course not wired up yet, but they're on there. So again, everything is super tight. It fits really well. It's tucked in tight, so I don't lose a whole lot of ground clearance. It might actually, I probably could have contained this all inside the factory bumper, but that's just boring. So a little bit on these bumper pieces I built. So they're, I believe, 11 gauge steel and a bunch of shape to them. And I had to do a shape here so I had access to my recovery hooks. These are 3/4 inch steel, so I can put a strap right on the top of the hook, or I can use the D-ring mounts. So they're a nice combination hook, and they're the anchor point of all of my front bumpers. I needed to make sure I clearance this to be able to get in there with a strap. So I'm super happy with that design, and I'm super happy that everything's tucked in really tight. When I eventually get rid of the steel line and go with the synthetic, I'll even be able to get a smaller fair lead on here and tuck it in even tighter. But for now, this winch cable is brand new. I actually picked this whole winch up on Marketplace for 150 bucks. It's brand new. It was used, never mounted, never used. The cable was still zip tied on there. So for 150 bucks, I was super happy with this winch. It's the exact same winch I have on the YJ, and it's been very good to me. So certainly happy to pick up a second Quadratec winch. Alright, so that's it for mounting all of this stuff. Now it's time to start the wiring. So trying to figure out the perfect place to mount this box. I tried fitting it up in this little spot here, but it's just a little too tight. I didn't like it, so I think it actually kind of fits hovering right here. I actually still have access to get to the shock bolt, which I shouldn't need for a long time because I already did shocks. But I really kind of like it there. It's real convenient. This main power lead, I can get to my power distribution real easy. I can get the rest of the wiring to a switched ignition source and a ground real easy. So I like it a lot right here. So I'm going to have to build me a bracket, I think. I'm going to come off of these 2 bolts that are already here that mount this engine coolant bottle, and I can just make a U-shaped bracket, use existing hardware, and make a nice mount that'll keep that right where I want it. So using those low temp solder connectors, I got my lights wired up to a piece of a wire harness left over from another project. This is nice wire harness. It actually has 3 wires in it. I'm only using 2, but it's got a nice rubber coating, so it travels well. So now, we just twisted up the end of this hot wire, and we're putting this in the slot number 1. And what's really nice about this box is it just has these really slick little screw connectors. It's just got a set screw that drives down and crushes the wire inside it. Stupid simple, and again, it comes with its own screwdriver. So, make that good and tight. That's it for our positive connection. And then our ground, I am just going to connect that right here to this existing ground along with this main ground for the box. I'm going to shorten this piece of wire these 2 together, and probably add more grounds to it a little bit later on. So I might not even tie this together just yet, because we might have more grounds now. I don't think I will. I think the backup lights, there's no reason to run a wire all the way to the front. I'm going to ground that to the chassis somewhere in the back. I don't know if I'm going to use the light bar. I'm toying with the idea of using a light bar. So I guess for now, I'm just going to go ahead and ground these 2 together and call it good. Okay, ground is hooked up to the side here. I went ahead and I hooked up my my lead to my controller just because I want to see this all work, and everything works. It lights up. I've got this wired to a constant power, so I need to change that. So currently there's no way to turn this off, so it's constantly drawing power. But that light just died. But anyway, so now when I push this button, my new lights light up. That's exactly what we were hoping for. I'll move the camera back so you can see, but pretty straightforward install. This Oxido switch panel and the whole power assembly is really well thought out and stupid simple. I'll bring you in here and show you my bracket. So again, my bracket is real simple. It comes off of the overflow bottle here. It runs across. I put a couple bends in it to miss this big wire here, because it's really stiff. Let me get over here. So this big wire here is really stiff. So I put some bends to get around it, and I ended up stepping it down here to get down to the other washer bottle bolt. So it makes a really rigid, nice, solid mount. And again, the positioning is just perfect. It's out of the way of everything. Still, it leaves room to get to oil filter and shock mount over there. So real happy with the install. So let's come back and check out these lights. Look at that. They're super bright. Of course, the camera can't appreciate it, but they work. All right, lighting is done. Everything is wired. These things are actually pretty darn bright. I don't think the phone really picks it up, but they're doing a pretty nice job. Backup lights light up the area really well. Kind of see them there, but yeah, super bright. And the ambers, I kind of like the ambers. Again, not picking it up great on the phone. Maybe it'll be a little better in the videos, but I drove it a bit in the dark, and I'm really happy with the ambers. I've never owned a set of amber lights, so it's kind of a new experience, but they do a good job. So these are just the auxiliary lights, none of the actual headlights at this point. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure to check back soon. I've got a lot going on. Be getting everything ready for the 24 Hours of Appalachia Run for the Hills. Again, I'll put a link down below for that. I'll also put a link for the Jeep Docs channel. I have a link for the Nightlight lights I'll put down there. So make sure you check that stuff out. Some of those things will help the channel. Maybe make $1 or $2. That'd be great. But come back. We're going to have a lot coming up. We'll see you.